Welcome on into the Josh REESE Show. I'm your host, Josh REESE, and this video is going to be detailing the season that Trevor Ariza had for the Houston Rockets last season. It was a good year, just like all the rest of the Houston Rockets. Good season, so lots of good things to say about Trevor Ariza. But before we get into that, please follow my friends over at Countryside Massage here in Conroe, Texas. Give them a second. Stop this video. Click the link in the description box below. I have them linked in, and just give them a like on their Facebook page. That's all they're asking. That's all I'm asking from you, is to support them, because they're supporters of this show, and I support the great work they do in Conroe, Texas. I would appreciate it. So let's get on into Trevor Ariza and everything that he provided for the Houston Rockets last season, which was pretty much everything he's provided since joining the Houston Rockets a couple seasons back after playing with the Washington Wizards. He provided 3-and-D services. He was able to guard a hell of a lot of people, and he was able to shoot a hell of a lot of threes. Wasn't terribly efficient at shooting threes, but regardless, he was a 3-and-D player. Trevor Ariza in the season finished shooting 34% from three, with 70% of his shots coming from the three-point land. But one of the things that the Houston Rockets have loved since Trevor Ariza has rejoined the team was the fact that he's kind of made the Houston Rockets, I don't want to say good defensively, because they're still not good defensively. Next year we can argue about that. But he's made them respectable. They're certainly not laughable on defense. They're a respectable defensive team, and a large part of that is, of course, they've had Patrick Beverley, they've had Dwight Howard, but those guys were not as constant and consistent as Trevor Ariza is. Trevor Ariza, since joining the Houston Rockets, has been one of the most consistent players in the NBA. He is here game in, game out. I want to say he's missed maybe 2 or 3 games since he's joined the team, rejoined the team 3 seasons ago. He plays one of the most heaviest minutes in the league. Last season, he played 34.7 minutes a game. The season before, it was even higher. Trevor Ariza is always in the game, and he's always guarding the team's best player, be it Russell Westbrook, be it Anthony Davis, be it Chris Paul, and anybody in between. Trevor Ariza is always guarding that team's best player, and he's given that team, that player, his all, and he's helped the Rockets step it up on the defensive end. Of course, the Rockets, as I mentioned, aren't a very good defensive team, but they're respectable, and a large part of that is the stuff that Trevor Ariza brings. So last season, Trevor Ariza, we'll get into kind of what he compiled for the Houston Rockets last season. He scored 11.7 points a game, which was down from last year about a full point. But while the offense went up, you saw his numbers go down, but that's kind of understandable considering that the Rockets brought in Eric Gordon, they brought in Ryan Anderson, they brought in Lou Williams, they brought in a lot of other people to help out the scoring load, so it really wasn't up to Trevor Ariza to score many points anymore. Although you still found possessions at the end of the game where Trevor Ariza would find the ball in his hands and he didn't know what to do with it, so he'd put the ball on the ground and end up driving to the basket. Sometimes it would work out. Most of the time, it would be terrifying offense. But next season, that should become less and less of a factor on the offensive end, considering they have Chris Paul and James Harden. At the end of games, you should definitely, or at the end of shot clocks, I should say, you should definitely, rarely ever see Trevor Ariza with the ball in his hand, not knowing what to do. With those two guys on the floor, I really doubt that Trevor Ariza is going to be more than a spot-up shooter in this offense. And oddly enough, Trevor Ariza did have the 3rd most spot-up shot possessions last year with 4.7 spot-up shots last season. And that should actually go up next year. He should probably be getting about 6, 7 shots a game, wide open shots a game, with Chris Paul and James Harden creating shots. Trevor Ariza should definitely only become either a guy that makes layups or a guy who hits spot-up threes. Certainly nothing else. Nothing else. Maybe he's still going to get a couple shots like that in the game, but rarely you'll see those possessions where Trevor Ariza will put the ball on the ground, and that is a win-win for the Houston Rockets offense. So, Trevor Ariza offensively pretty much hit threes, or he drove the lane and was able to get a shot at the rim. That was about 92% of his shots were coming either from those two spots. So rare opportunities where he took mid-range shots. And again, that should be eliminated next season with the addition of Chris Paul. So offensively, Trevor Ariza, kind of, it is what it is. He's a 3-and-D player, but he's a 3 guy who is not, he's still not the 41% three-point shooter that the Rockets signed from the Washington Wizards. He's been kind of trending down a little bit from that 41%, and kind of, this is now at 34%. He still has room to grow three-point shooting-wise. So, I mean, you'll see times where he can't miss, but then you'll also see times where he can't hit the broadside of a barn. So, I mean, he is a little bit of a streaky shooter, but maybe going forward with a little bit less creation, more spot-up shots, more open shots, you'll see Trevor Ariza start to trend back upwards towards the 40% land from three-point shots. And considering he's taking 70% of his shots from three-point land, if you're getting 40% of them right, that's a good thing in the Rockets' offense. Unlike James Harden, Ryan Anderson, and Eric Gordon, he was not one of those guys that really stretched the floor by taking 27, 28-foot threes. He kind of really stayed around the three-point line. He didn't really venture out as far as those guys last season. But the reason why you have Trevor Ariza on this team is certainly not because of his offensive skills. It's because everything he brings to you on the defensive level. And he has been a really solid defensive player, like I alluded to earlier in this video. But on top of that, I think one of the great things that Trevor Ariza does on this Houston Rockets team is the fact that he's able to deflect a hell of a lot of passes. And a lot of time those deflections end up turning into offense for the Houston Rockets. A deflection turns into James Harden grabbing the ball and then scooting off to on the other side for a layup or someone else. Those deflections are very good things for the Rockets defense, and the Rockets deflect a hell of a lot of passes. And a large part of that is because of Trevor Ariza and last season Patrick Beverley, but he's gone, but Trevor Ariza is still going to deflect a lot of passes going forward. Last season he finished in the top 10 in deflections, and he was also in the top 10 in steals overall. So Trevor Ariza certainly got into the passing lanes, and someone told me this last year, and I really don't agree with it, but I understand where he's coming from. If you're only watching the Rockets games for, split seconds and whatnot, you'll see Trevor Ariza just cherry-picking like an interception. It won't be a deflection so much, but it'll be just a straight-up, a guy underestimates Trevor Ariza's speed, and he'll come out of nowhere and deflect the pass, grab it, and go down the other end to score. I see Trevor Ariza, and he kind of made this as like Trevor Ariza really isn't that good of a defensive player. He only really cherry picks passes, and that's totally wrong. This guy obviously does not see everything that Trevor Ariza does game in and game out, and all the people that he takes on game in and game out. Yeah, he's not going to hold Steph Curry to 28 points or 20 points a game. He's not going to hold Russell Westbrook to 15 points a game. He's going to do the best that he can, and he's going to hold up just fine, but he's not going to be this amazing lockdown defender like Tony Allen was in his prime or Bruce Bowen was in his prime. He is good for what the Houston Rockets need. They need someone who can switch on to a lot of different people. They need someone who is going to pretty much just take on the role of taking on that good offensive player and just making that his. Because if James Harden's guarding that player is going to get 60 points. Trevor Ariza guards that player, it becomes more of a normal game, like 30-point game or something like that. It's not as atrocious as it would be if someone else was guarding him. So I didn't really understand. I didn't really agree with that. But you will see Trevor Ariza pick off a pass or two a game. It just isn't a skill set. For whatever reason, guys do not sense Trevor Ariza's deceptiveness, or Trevor Ariza is able to really ferret out where a ball is going and where a defender is about to pass a ball. And you will see this time and time again. He will intercept the pass. It is amazing to watch how many times he was able to do this a game. It's really, really good to see. But one of the things that I think should be noted as well is Trevor Ariza finished in the top 25 in plus minus a game, plus 4.6 a game. And for someone who scores around 11, 12 points a game, that's pretty good news. And it really means that, of course, a lot of Houston Rockets were on this list as well. But what it means is Trevor Ariza does a lot of things despite the 11 points that he provides to help be on the plus side of this plus-minus scale. He does a lot of different stuff. As I mentioned, he's always taking on the defense's best player, and he's always doing what he can on the offensive end, setting screens. He does a lot of good things for the Houston Rockets, and that is a big reason why his plus-minus numbers are in the top 25. And going into next season, it's going to be a little bit interesting for Trevor Ariza, as he'll be 32, and on top of that, it's a contract season for Trevor Ariza. And oftentimes you'll see guys have their best season in a contract year as they try to get that last contract before they are no longer able to get another big contract. So we could see Trevor Ariza have a very, very good season next year. And I'm not saying that it just because he wants to get more money or whatever, just because the Houston Rockets team around him is a lot better. So it's in turn going to make him a much better player. So it'll be interesting to see what Trevor Ariza commands after next season, but I certainly expect this season to be probably his best season as a Houston Rockets player. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. I appreciate you for giving this a watch. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it. If this is your first time viewing my YouTube channel, please give me a subscribe. I would appreciate it. I have a lot of Rockets content up here, a lot of other sports content in Houston as well, some WWE content sometimes. I would appreciate you giving me a subscribe. If this is your first time seeing my happy smiley face, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Joshua. Also, please, if you haven't done it yet, please follow my friends over at Countryside Massage here in Conroe, Texas. I would appreciate that. And lastly, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think you're going to get from Trevor Ariza this season. Do you think this is going to be Trevor Ariza's best year as a Houston Rocket? I'd love to know what you guys think. So with that, I'm going to bounce on out of here. I appreciate y'all guys for giving this a watch. We will catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.